Does your nose have its own zip code? I'm going to show you 3 quick tips on how to minimize your nose in photos when you look at yourself in the mirror and in another person's perspective. Let's go. First tip is to highlight the bottom sidewall of the nose with a really good brightening powder. This is the Cool Matte Powder from Science of Pretty, and these little finger puff things are the perfect tool to make a nice straight line. So I've got a little bit of product in the lid. I'm going to pick up about half of it, and I'm going to just set this. I want to make sure that that line is straight at the bottom wall of the nose. I'm going to set it right into the corner in my tear duct area, pull away, and then kind of bring it down and over. Okay, this is doing a couple of things. It's basically telling someone else that this part of your nose, the bottom side wall, it's the same color as the under eye area, so it looks like it's the same part of the face. All right, so you're gonna keep highlight at the bottom side wall of the nose. Does that make sense? Super easy. Okay, now do the other side, and then we're gonna move on to the second tip. We're gonna use a cool matte color for sculpting. This is the Blonde Brow Powder from Science of Pretty, but it also works as a sculpting powder because we like our makeup to have more than one job. And you're gonna go, let me show you what you're gonna not do, okay? Stay away from this area here. Stay away from doing this here. That's a much more advanced technique. And then stay off of the saddle. The saddle is right where the nostrils are, where sometimes you get that little bunny line right there. Stay away from that, okay? So the distance between here and here, it's about 1 inch. Maybe on your nose it's more, or maybe it's less, but that is where you want to put a little bit of sculpting powder. Now, if the tip of your nose is a problem, you're going to just brush some of that under the tip as well, okay? Don't overthink it, just put it on there, and then look into your own eyes and ask yourself if your nose somehow minimized. But when you stare at your nose, whatever's in focus expands, okay? So when you're judging your technique, back up and ask yourself, look into your own eyes and ask yourself if there's anything distracting right now. So I feel like my nose just kind of went backwards a little bit. It's not super forward. Now the third tip is to highlight right here. Naturally, there is a highlight right there on my nose because I just had rhinoplasty. I'm 3 months out of rhinoplasty, which is tip number 4. But if that's not on the table for you, then you need to know that you can create this by yourself. So I used to have an S curve in my nose. Right now, you can see bright light shining off of this bridge right here. And that's what you're going to recreate if it's not there. When you have an S in the curve, you're going to have a little bit of light here and a little bit of light here. It's very distorted and broken. So mine's been corrected, but if yours has not, the way to make it look that way is to create a little line of highlight right on top of where you just put the sculpting powder, okay? So the sculpting powder is gonna be a little bit wider, all right? It's gonna go down onto, just barely onto the sidewall of the nose, not onto the highlight right here, but just on the top, okay? With a larger fluffy brush. Now, when we create that highlight, we wanna be very, very careful with it because you can make it look much worse if you're not careful. So I'm gonna use the tip of this. I'm gonna go back to the Cool Matte Powder, and I'm going to just make a little highlight. Now, yes, you can use make sure you get it straight, and then you can put a little bit on the tip. Now, I didn't really need that because mine already has a natural highlight right there because there's light coming at my face. Light bounces off the apex of the curve, so the highest point of the curve is gonna get a beam of light. You're enhancing that or faking it when you put a little bit of highlighter there. You can use a highlighter like a eyeshadow that has some little bit of sparkle that's kind of in the beigey tones. I wouldn't use anything too gold or too silver, but in kind of a fleshy highlight shade. Anything that you would highlight on your cheeks with, you could even use this. This is a liquid highlighter, but if I was going to use this, I would just take a tiny bit, like that tiny of a bit, and then put it on there, and then you're going to have to do a little bit of work. So the powders are much, much more user-friendly. Good luck. Let me know if you are going to try these makeup tips or if you're just going to go straight for rhinoplasty.